Hey guys, Cigar Surgeon here with another Cigar Federation review, doing something a little different today, getting back to the Cuban cigar reviews, and I got something interesting today, the Romeo y Julieta Anejados, or Anejados. My Spanish is terrible and I apologize. Essentially, this is a specially aged Cuban cigar. Now, I know what you're thinking, everyone ages Cuban cigars, but this comes from S.A. Habanos as an aged cigar, and I think the specs I have is that they age them anywhere from 5 to 8 years. And that's supposed to give some complexity to it. This is a Piramides. You can see by the pointed cap there. It's a 6 1/8 inch. I think the official length is 6 1/7 inch by 52 ring gauge. And the MSRP is something like $18 or $19 US. It'd be way more than that in Canada. Fortunately, these were given to me by the official distributor in Canada, which is Habanos, at the Rocky Mountain Smokeout event, the second annual Rocky Mountain Smokeout event. So this is going to be really interesting for me to smoke. I'm a big fan of a lot of Romeo y Julieta offerings, and I've got many of them in my humidor. So we'll get cracking here. First off, of course, we're going to give this a nose. Lots of spicy cedar. So they did mention in the release that there's an expectation of more cedar influence because they've spent a lot of time in cedar boxes. A little bit of hay, and almost a sweet rum in the foot. So I'm interested. We'll get cracking on this and see what flavors come out. First off, I'm going to toast, and then I'm going to light. Because we're doing it the pyramid shape, unfortunately I can't use my V cutter. I'll have to use a guillotine cutter, but we'll get to that in a minute. So as I'm toasting here, I'm definitely getting that distinctive burning Cuban tobacco scent. If you've smoked your fair share of Cubans, you know that scent is unmistakable. All right, we'll give that a guillotine cut here. Very, very tight draw. I may actually have to make another cut here. But just opens up with a huge blast of marshmallow and graham cracker. Very sweet. Very interesting. So let the first third settle in and see what other flavors come to the surface. So there's a little bit of pepper present. And on the retrohale, it kind of finishes a little sweet with a little bit of pepper. It's very light. I would say light to light plus. And then, of course, with that graham cracker marshmallow sweetness, it really runs over any lingering pepper. So it's on my tongue for a second or so after the draw, but then just completely goes away. So there's a lot of flavor evolution in the first 5 minutes here. There's what I would describe as a little bit of green tobacco coming through, like tobacco that's not been completely fermented. So a little bit of chlorophyll. I'm also getting a hint of leather, which I don't get in a lot of Cubans, and then of course the dry cedar that we picked up on the nose is starting to come through here. So lots of stuff going on as this cigar kind of settles into the first third, and I'll keep checking in to see what else comes up. Not even at the 10-minute mark. There's some dark chocolate, cocoa, dark chocolate coming through. So there's just a whole myriad of flavors. You got leather, you got cedar, you got a hint of pepper on the retrohale, you got cocoa. So there's a ton of flavors going on here, and I'm hoping that it kind of settles into a rhythm in the first third, but I'll keep checking in. Sitting at the 20-minute mark, as you can see, the burn is nice and clean on this. I think the first third has settled in. There's still some chlorophyll that's coming through at the end of the draw, kind of mixing in, but overall I'd say it's cedar, some cocoa. So it started out as a dark chocolate, like a slightly bitter chocolate, but it's definitely cocoa now, and an elegant sweetness. The pepper I was getting in the retrohale is really gone at this point, but it's smoking well, and even though I had some draw issues, it seems to be fine. So we'll see how this progresses for the rest of the first third. Sitting at the 45-minute mark, I'd say the flavor strength has kind of waned a bit. Everything's kind of backed off to a light level. There's still a little bit of leather coming through, which is pushing the light plus, but everything's kind of balanced out. I think maybe I was expecting more flavor strength out of the first third. And I probably have maybe another 10 minutes before we get into the middle third here. So I'll check back in once I'm in the middle third. In the middle third now, Cedar has sharply taken over. I put it at a medium minus. I'm really struggling to pick up any other flavors here because the Cedar is just dominating the profile. So I'll keep checking in, see if any other flavors push through or if the Cedar drops off. Just hit the 1 hour mark. There's maybe some cocoa, but it's really being pushed down by that Cedar. I mean, Cedar is really the dominant profile in the middle third. Yeah, so I'm going to keep smoking the middle third, and I'm hoping some other flavors develop, but if they don't, then I'll check back in the last third. 1 hour, 15-minute mark. Again, the main draw is really taken over by the Cedar, but I am getting that graham cracker sweetness off the retrohale. Not much else here on the flavor profile to report on. So I'll check back in the last third and see what comes up. 1 hour, 20-minute mark. Just wrapping up the middle third. There's some saltiness and some minerality that came through at a light plus. And I think that's probably going to be the last flavor transition before we get into the last third here. Getting to the last third, there's some sour earth and leather. So I'm going to purge, I'm going to relight and see if it resets itself. So I did a purge and relight. There's like some basil coming through and some citrus, which is very different. A little bit of chlorophyll, still some dry cedar. So we'll see if the last third settles in and what other flavors come out. 1 hour, 35-minute mark. The basil and citrus fell off pretty quick, and now it's just cocoa and cedar. Cedar isn't dominant, so the cocoa and cedar are both about a light plus, balanced off against each other, and nothing else to report. So I'll keep smoking. Probably have another 20 minutes left in the last third, and see if anything else comes to the surface. Wrapping up the last third, and there's a little bit of leather that's come through to sort of enter into the mix against the cocoa and the cedar. Hope you've enjoyed this review of the Romeo y Julieta Anejados. It's been an interesting review. I'm sure there'll be some more Cuban reviews from me coming up in the future. If you enjoyed our review today, make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and check out a written review at cigarfederation.com. Thanks very much, Fedheads.